The email arrived at 3:13 a.m. Istanbul time. The subject line read simply, "Don't be selfish." I sat motionless in the dim light of the hotel room, still dressed in the suit from the night's negotiations, the collar stiff with dried sweat. The words on the screen blurred, sharpened, and then blurred again, like they were trying to make sense of something my mind refused to fully grasp. She had written that she had taken care of things. The villa, my villa, the one I had built brick by brick over 10 years of grueling discipline and sacrifice, had been sold to cover her ex-boyfriend's gambling debts. She insisted it was necessary, that I had more than enough, and ended it with a smiley face emoji. The taste of iron filled my mouth, but I didn't reply. I didn't scream. I didn't weep. Instead, I closed the laptop, stood up, and turned toward the window. The city's skeletal skyline lay before me, but I was no longer looking at it. I was feeling something slow and deliberate burn inside my chest. She thought she had won. She thought I would come home, broke and obedient, the perfect victim. But she didn't know me. She didn't know that I had been anticipating betrayal long before she ever understood the meaning of lies. It was 6 years ago when we met. By then I was already established, cautious, private, deliberate. She, on the other hand, was warmth, laughter, wildness. A storm. I had foolishly believed I could anchor myself in her chaos. I should have known better. The small lies, the late meetings, the weekends with friends had accumulated like rot beneath fresh paint. I had pretended not to notice, mistaking endurance for strength. But that illusion ended tonight. I picked up the phone and called the police. The villa, though it bore both of our names on the deed, was legally registered under a private holding company I had set up years before. A quiet protection, one I had never explained to her. Any sale without my consent was not just invalid. It was criminal. Fraud. Identity theft. Money laundering. I hung up without giving my name. They would figure it out soon enough. Then, I called the real estate agent, an opportunistic, spineless fool who had helped arrange the sale without a second thought. I left a short, cold voicemail. The sale is invalid. The authorities are involved. I suggest you contact both the buyer and the seller immediately. And then I waited. By the time my plane touched down the next day, the cracks had already begun to show. My phone was flooded with messages, her name flashing relentlessly on the screen. I silenced them all. When I finally pulled into the driveway of my city house, her car was already there. Parked crooked, half the door ajar as if she had run inside, panic overtaking her. I didn't rush. I sat in the car, watching the windows glow, letting her stew in the silence she had so thoughtlessly created. Inside, I could see her pacing wild-eyed, foam pressed to her ear. She turned toward me as the door opened, her voice trembling, breaking. They're saying the sale is being reversed. That I'm under investigation." Her mascara was smeared. The perfect little facade she had maintained was crumbling into something raw, ugly. I said nothing. I simply placed a thick manila folder on the dining table. She looked at it as if it might explode. Inside, photographs, bank statements, emails between her and her ex, the ones I had intercepted months ago. Quietly, methodically, I had gathered evidence of every siphoned dollar, every secret rendezvous, every whispered promise to help him just one more time. Her hands trembled as she flipped through the pages, realization dawning in her widening eyes. You knew," she gasped. I met her gaze, calm, unblinking. "I gave you rope," I said softly. "You chose to hang yourself." The final blow came not from me, but from reality itself. The buyer of the villa, an entity controlled by one of my attorneys, had filed a lawsuit for damages, claiming misrepresentation and fraud. The real estate agent, desperate to save himself, had turned over every message, every email between them. Her accounts were frozen, her reputation shredded, and her ex had vanished the moment the money dried up, leaving her to drown alone in the wreckage. No one would come to her aid now. She collapsed to her knees in the center of the room, sobbing, but the sound felt distant, muted, like the ocean heard from behind thick glass. I watched her crumple, feeling nothing but a cold, solemn finality. Not rage, not joy, just the quiet satisfaction of a man who had refused to be made a fool. I turned toward the door, pausing only to speak one last time. "Don't be selfish. I repeated, the words cutting sharper than a blade, each syllable a cold echo of her own. And then I left. The heavy oak door swung shut behind me, sealing her inside a house filled with everything she had destroyed with her own hands. The sky outside was dark, but I walked forward without hesitation. There was nothing left to mourn, only freedom, and the unshakable knowledge that I had chosen the long, patient road, and I had won.